Can profits and principles coexist? This is the question I get asked all the time. I'm Dorothy Baumann-Pauli. I'm a professor at the Geneva School for Economics and Management, where I direct the Geneva Center for Business Human Rights. It's indeed our mission to develop business models that help companies to align profits and principles, and I'm absolutely convinced that this is possible if companies commit to business in the long term. Business success in the future will depend on respect for human rights. I have a concrete example. I'm currently investigating the sourcing model of Decathlon, a French retailing company that is growing fast and that has, since a few years, completely changed the way how they order goods from countries with weak governance that is not fully protecting human rights, and so private actors need to step up and ensure that basic labor rights are respected in the factories that produce the goods. Decathlon, in contrast to many other companies in the apparel industry, no longer places orders around the world without considering the factories that are and the workers in that supply chain that need to produce the goods. Instead, they create partnerships with those factories and want to work with them long term. And they work long term with those factories on two dimensions: on improving the business, but also on improving working conditions. Improving the business means they invest in training the workforce, upskilling the workforce, ensuring that productivity increases and that the quality improves. And at the same time, they ensure compliance with basic labor rights. So this goes hand in hand. And this has been very successful. I've seen it working in Ethiopia. Factories I visited there that produce for Decathlon in Ethiopia have lower turnover rates, have improved productivity. And despite of the many disruptions that we currently see in Ethiopia through a pandemic, through ethnic conflict, those factories continue producing very successfully for Decathlon. And finally, why should shareholders actually consider investing in companies that respect human rights? I'd argue the world works in our favor, in that the world in the future does expect from companies that they are aligning their business with respect for environmental standards and social standards, including human rights. And most importantly, investors nowadays ask routinely for the ESG quality of a company, environmental, social, governance data that companies need to provide to their investors to be attractive. Also, there's greater supply chain transparency, and consumers are increasingly aware and sensitive to human rights violations. And so it's important for companies to manage those risks. It'll be those companies that have control over their supply chains and their business operations that will be successful in the future.